Do you think he poses a greater danger to America than Richard Nixon did?
I do, actually. Richard Nixon, for all his faults, and there were many, and violations of the law, was a person who did not, in my view, pose an existential threat to our democracy. Donald Trump, on the other hand, does. Donald Trump has said that he will not respect the results of the next election. He won't promise to do that. And that is so contrary to the very fiber of what it means to live in a democracy that it is just one more outlier for Donald Trump, who has no regard for our Constitution and for our normative values.
It doesn't look like it hasn't moved the polls, this case, where it matters, and it doesn't seem like it's going to deter Donald Trump from trying to get back in the White House. It looks like America's on a very perilous course, doesn't it?
Well, I think getting back into the White House is a part of his defense here. He hopes to defer, deny, and then evade.
50 years ago, you were involved with prosecuting Watergate. Did you ever think America would be back in a sort of similar situation?
Well, you know, it's hard to think of what I thought then. But as I have matured, I have seen a lot, and I have a very high threshold for surprise. So, yes, we have a resilient democracy. We've been through a lot. There were those who didn't think the experiment that we started back in 1776 would survive. Our most cherished founders warned us against people like Trump taking advantage for their own purposes of the freedoms that are afforded in our democracy. And we must safeguard our democracy, otherwise we will lose it. That's the simple equation.
Are there parallels between the hush money case and Watergate, do you think? I mean, in Watergate there was talk of hush money, wasn't there?
Well, in Watergate, the hush money was paid to avoid the truth coming out. Here, in Trump's tawdry, ridiculous case in which the testimony shows him being spanked on the bum by a porn actress with a magazine rolled up with his photo on the front. It's a bit different.
But it was still to stop the truth coming out.
In principle, yes, this was the cover-up. It was an attempt to stop the truth from coming out that Trump had this dalliance while his wife was busy giving birth. The violation is one which is regularly prosecuted. That is, creating false documents to disguise violations of campaign financing regulations. And many people have been prosecuted for the same crime.
And some of this played out while he was in the Oval Office in the same way that, you know, Nixon broke the law.
Oh, all of Nixon's charged activities took place while he was President of the United States. Indeed, the core of his malfeasance was the way he conducted himself in the misuse of power. But say whatever you will about Nixon, he did not pose the same danger as Donald Trump.
And that's because you think Trump will go much further in terms of eroding the safeguards of the Republic if he gets back in?
Yes, indeed. And it's probably the analogy to why in the Spanish bullfight they don't allow the bull to fight a second time, because he's learned too much. Trump, when he took office, was ignorant of the mechanics of power. He was a one-trick pony. He knew television.
But you think he's learnt from his initial presidency that he'd be more ruthless?
Yes, he learned things that he never knew about replacing individuals on a temporary basis who had access to the levers of power and serious kinetic force that the U.S. is capable of. What Trump's danger is in U.S. foreign policy to change our posture, in his affinity for dictators around the world, the nature of his bullying, his disrespect for minorities, the list goes on and on. Everything that we had heretofore valued about our chief executive, our leader, is negated by Trump's activities and his persona. He's a liar. He's a bully. He's a coward.
You said, I think, John Dean was the best corroborated witness you'd ever faced. How did Michael Cohen compare?
Well, it's hard to say because the jury's out on Cohen, but Cohen had a history of bad acts, bullying, of illegalities. He's confessed to it. He's perjured himself on numerous occasions. And yet, he was the person that Trump chose to be closest to for 12 years. Now, the jury's got to sort that out. The prosecution didn't just find Michael Cohen in the phone book. He was the person who Trump had chosen to be his designated fixer and bully. And he's the one who negotiated to catch and kill the story so that it didn't get out, paying $120,000, $130,000 to Stormy Daniels, porn actress, plus others who were in similar situations. So Trump, who is notoriously cheap with his own money, not about to spend that kind of money willy-nilly. There was a reason for it.